Welcome everyone. Today I want to talk to you about Tesla. About a few weeks ago, I actually made a video explaining why Tesla stock will implode, why they will collapse, and that's what basically happened over the last few days. So I was not surprised by these actions. You can see this video here. However, I was really shocked by the conference call that Elon Musk and his executives held. It was one of the worst conference calls I've ever seen in my lifetime. It was a disaster. It was treated like a chore by Musk. It clearly showed complete disregard and disrespect for current Tesla investors. Musk sounded like he didn't even want to be there. He was not prepared and he didn't really answer any questions, or at least he did not do so competently. Instead of answering questions, he basically just went on a rant, and it was very incoherent. He was ranting about high rates, about work from home. None of these things were really related to the conference call. He was not really answering questions. He was not really instilling confidence in investors, which is what he's supposed to do. He made the event about him and his feelings. He talked about some PTSD from near bankruptcy, and overall, he was just making everyone gloomy, especially with his incoherent anecdotes. He sounded panicked, and that's not really what you want from a leader. You don't want the CEO of a company to sound like everything's crashing, like it's the end of times. And he was just really tired overall. Basically, if you're not gonna be able to have this energy to re-energize your investors, just don't do the conference, or at least allow somebody else to do this conference for you. If you're unable to multitask as a CEO of multiple companies, you should step down from some companies. This is why I believe the CEO is probably needed for Tesla, at least a co-CEO, someone that's prepared for an earnings call and simply doesn't just wing it like Elon Musk did. You can really take a lesson from Steve Jobs, who would really practice these conference calls and his presentations. He would be very anal about this. He would practice where to stand, how to speak, which word to enunciate, and he would really inspire everyone in the crowd. And he had real charisma, and that's not something Elon Musk does. Elon Musk basically just kind of mumbles and goes on incoherent rants and doesn't really stay on point, or and he doesn't even prepare for any of the questions that will be asked of him. And everyone else is just too scared to contradict him or to say anything else. Now, I'm not the only person that feels this way. This was actually mentioned by several people in the press, and I was just reading this article. Basically says Tesla tumbles after disastrous Elon Musk conference call. Tesla stock is down by as much as 10%. They're down about 15 to 20% right now, but this was an article from about 2 days ago. They're about 15 to 20% following the release of companies' earnings and the following disastrous conference call with Elon Musk. Tesla missed expectations, but the stock was actually flat following the release of these numbers. Stock was also flat when they first released their delivery numbers, or it just went down a little bit. It was really the conference call that Musk held that really tanked this stock. It wiped out around $30 billion from his personal net worth and really messed up pretty much all the investors. Like, you cannot sound so panicked in a conference call. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to point out all the good things. You're supposed to sound confident because you are the leader of the company. If you're panicked, everyone else is panicked. There's a few pieces of information that came out from the call that likely contributed to the stock tumbling. Elon Musk tempering expectations with Cybertruck, basically saying we dug our own grave building this thing. That's not a good thing to say about one of your flagship products. You don't want to say it could be a complete disaster, basically. You kind of want to hype up your product, especially since it's a flagship product that's basically re-energizing your entire lineup. This is the electric stake. I was personally disappointed in the conference call. First, we missed the first half of Musk's opening statements because he was muted. People could not even hear what he was saying. His mic was off, and everyone was too scared to tell him that his mic was muted. That's not a good thing. You don't want your employees to be terrified of you. You want them to be a team. You want them to support you, to let you know when you're muted. However, that's not the worst part. The worst part was that Tesla unmuted him, but they didn't tell him. He didn't restart his statement. He just continued as if nothing happened. And then it happened again halfway through the call. This is extremely disorganized. You don't want conference call to feel like they're being winged, like they're being very nonchalant about this. This is a huge deal. This is a conference call for a near $1 trillion company. And everyone basically sounded like they were extremely indifferent, like they were tired, like they were just getting this out of the way so they can go back to doing whatever they were doing. They did not take this thing seriously whatsoever. Not the first time I've been worried about Musk being surrounded by yes men who are too afraid to give him bad news. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is an example of that. I was disappointed by Musk skating around important questions. For example, he was asked a critical question about Tesla's plan to eventually take legal responsibilities for full self-driving. Instead of responding, he complained about people, quote, already believing that Tesla has the responsibility because they're suing the company, then claiming that Tesla achieved baby AGI, which is not an answer at all. So basically, Musk disregarded pretty much every question and just talked about whatever he felt like. This was a completely disorganized event. This was just so chaotic. No one had any idea what was going on. Like, these guys did not take even 15 minutes to prepare for this call. It was terrible. It was probably the worst conference call I've heard in over 10 years. At least if you're gonna do a conference call, just prepare a little bit, have a meeting beforehand, take a nap, have a Red Bull, do something. Don't just go out there half asleep, mumble off a bunch of statements, don't answer any questions, and just walk away. That's the reason stock is down 15%. People are wondering, has Elon Musk already lost it? Maybe pressure is getting to him. Maybe he's not capable of being a CEO of multiple companies. Lastly, he spent about half the call complaining about macroeconomic and interest rates, which I know are having a big impact on Tesla's business right now, but it's not a good look to complain a ton about something completely outside of company's power and then not answer any questions that are within the company's power. So he was rambling about high interest rates. He was basically blaming Jay Powell, blaming the Federal Reserve Chairman about keeping the interest rates high because he cannot sell as many cars, which is the reason Tesla has been discounting their vehicles. And basically, he was just ranting. He didn't answer any questions from analysts or anything really concrete. He didn't talk about full self-driving, any expectations. He didn't talk about any new products coming onto the market. It also feels like Musk is pushing this high interest issue too much. It has an undeniable impact, but it's certainly not the only issue with demand because Tesla has reduced prices more over the last year than what it needed to keep monthly payments at the same price despite interest rate increases. So Musk basically he doesn't really know what's happening anymore within his company. He's discounting his products too much, way more than interest rate would actually impact them. So he's just lost complete focus in running the show. He doesn't know what's going on anymore. He's he's become an absentee CEO, and basically everyone else is afraid to tell him the truth. They're just terrified of him, terrified of losing their jobs or being blackballed or being blacklisted or just being sued into oblivion by him. He's went from a beloved leader to an absolute tyrant. And that's not a good look for a company that's supposed to have a social conscience, for a company that's supposed to elevate us higher, transition us into green energy, and especially because it's so connected with these other companies like SpaceX. They're supposed to be taking us into space to colonize other planets. Basically, if his vision of the world starts to crack in one place, it's gonna crack the whole picture, and everything can just come falling down. So this was really, really disappointing from Musk and his team. They looked like a bunch of amateurs that don't know what they were talking about. And I told you this was going to happen to the stock price. I was just not expecting this incoherent babble from him and his executives just to embarrass themselves completely. I mean, there's no more hype. He used to hype up his products. He used to overpromise and just at least try to deliver some of it. Now he just sounds like a sad old tired man. That's it, guys. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. As always, have a great day.